All right, we're here. I'm sorry it took so long. Okay, moving in, getting everything set up took a little bit longer. I know people are like, "Oh, you're just gonna wish for somebody to die. You just want people to wreck." Okay, we'll talk about that later. I want to actually talk about the strategy and stuff for the first 15 minutes here, and then we can start talking about all the stupid stuff that I've missed because I've basically been AFK for 2 weeks. So when we're entering this weekend, and I understand I'm recording this on Friday, the Truck and Xfinity Series qualify or get rained out or whatever they're going to do today. Okay, so you can listen to this when you're building lines or whatever, when you get off of work, whatever the case is. I know it's kind of short notice or short upload time, but I've been wanting to talk about this, and then, like I said, I'm sorry it took so long. I will be live tomorrow morning and on Sunday morning for both the races, so feel free to ask me specific questions there, but for anybody who's new or not new or whatever the case is, this is Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, where I go over low-owned plays and strategies specifically designed for GPPs. This is a show of people who are already informed of daily fantasy sports on these contests and operate. If you have a question leading NASCAR is a question, feel free to shoot them on Twitter and BrandonCruzDFS. Most importantly, take everything you're grain of salt and use your best judgment when making entries. Additionally, if you have a gambling addiction, that's just not my problem. Check your sense of feelings at the door. We're talking about the Talladega weekend, and I can't believe I remember the intro. Okay, so I'm putting everything over a blanket. Let me go ahead and bring up the optimals real fast for the. We'll focus on the Cup Series. I mean, this stuff applies to Xfinity and Truck Series, but I'm just going to cover them all as a blanket because one, I don't use projections. And this is the strategy that I've been using for the entire time I've been playing DFS. There's a reason why, even when I didn't have a lot of money, I would put the most amount of money each races on the super speedways and understand that I got a good chance of losing it. However, I like to invest the most amount of money in here. I do want to go through what happened over the summer because I don't like doing victory laps on Twitter. I don't like doing things like that. Like the day of. I know that's weird. I don't mind talking about it a month later or something, but I just don't personally like going over that stuff or posting screenshots and stuff the day of because I know what it's like to feel like shit and have a bad day where you lose your money or the people that you're on all wreck and you're just like, what the heck? This race is terrible, and you see everybody winning on Twitter, and it just makes you want to kill yourself because you feel like a dum-dum for making a mistake or just being on the wrong guy or whatnot. Let me bring up the Cup Series real fast. But so I've done the same strategy the entire time. I even show you the lines that I ran and give you an idea of how I built the lines and stuff. Let's go ahead and move this here. Here, we'll just move it here. Let's go through and look through. We can even look through the Daytona stuff as well. Let's see. This was the summer race. We can go through, and this is just this year's, or these are my lines for this year. We can go back. I mean, I don't need to because I build the same way, but you get the idea just to show you how I guys build. Here is the 500. We can open that up. Duels are different. They don't matter in this. There's a reason why I don't include Atlanta. I think Atlanta is its own beast. I don't. Clearly, we need more races there, but just from what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing, I personally feel like we can't group Atlanta into Talladega and Daytona. Some people might disagree with me. Some people might agree with me. Whatever the case is, that's how I look at it. I think I did miss. Oh, I probably have trucks at Daytona. That's probably why it's not up. So we will find it when we get through. Xfinity Daytona 1, Xfinity Daytona 2, and then bruh. Missing. Here it is. So these are just this year's races. Actually, these are all Daytona. Let's bring up Talladega. Just so everybody can understand that I build the exact same way. And this is a good example. So we'll start from my least profitable ones this year. I know for a fact I'd lost $700-800 at the Talladega race in the spring because nobody wrecked. Okay, we didn't really have a ton of wrecks. I lost about the same amount of money last year in Bubba's win because nobody wrecked. Just no guy wrecked. I was pretty heavy on him, which I think we'll talk about the ownership and how I think the field might be on the back markers a bit more than normal, but we'll talk about it. But I know for a fact I did not win here. In this race earlier this year, you can see my lines. And look, I try and make these videos different. You can go back and look through all my super speedway lineup like videos that I do, because I personally I really, and not like memeing out, I really enjoy talking strategy, talking lineup construction, because I feel like this is the true pinnacle of understanding what opponents are going to do versus projections versus what you're doing. It is all on what you think the public is going to do. It's I hate using like poker analogies, but man, I mean, this is the type of stuff I live for. I love trying to project what I think other people are going to do, what other builds are going to do, and things like that. Now, for like I said, for a fact, I'm pretty sure I didn't make any money in the spring on Talladega, but these are the types of lines that I built for. This is just how I did 20 lines. I entered them all in the 15, the 4, the 1, 25 cent, 50 cent, whatever the case is. Usually the investment is like about 500 to 700 bucks, whatever the case is. I know for a fact I lost my ass in this race because people just didn't wreck at all. But you can see where I'm at. My player pool extended from 39th to 22nd. I do not play people up here. I think it is a waste of time. We'll talk about that more as I go through. I just want to give people examples because they're like, how do you build lines? What do you do? Well, I build lines like this. You can see my ownership that I had when I had 14 lines in. I ended up making 20. You can see at the bottom how much salary I'm leaving over. And that's how I track my lines for every race. But I think it is very much important to do it here at plate races when we're specifically chasing or trying to focus on where ownership is going to go. This Xfinity, that same weekend earlier, you can see, it's from April. Xfinity, I tend to play a bit more aggressive, trying to get higher up guys, specifically if it's colleague or like Junior Motorsports cars or JGR cars that are starting in the teens that we typically see can get up there more. And I guess, fuck it, we'll just talk about the optimals for all three series at some point. But you can see that, once I cover the bases that I want to cover, the guys in the back, I start, kind of inching up there, start slowly getting up there. Because typically in Xfinity Series, we don't see just pure on plays like this, typically come through. I'm pretty sure I lost money on this race. I don't remember. And if I don't remember, that's usually, I usually lost it. But yet again, 20 lines, you can see where my ownership goes. I'm going to take this. Actually, you don't need to see everything. Basically, the guys, these lines down here are just built with more guys in the back. Okay. Daytona 1, I think early in the year, I was having a budget for the whole year, didn't enter a ton, at least as much as I thought I would. Oh, no, I did. I don't know why, for a reason, I thought I didn't enter a lot in this series. I think this is probably my most profitable one. This is the one that, yes, so... because they had the Millionaire Maker this week, so I had to budget for that because that was much more expensive. This was the truck race in Daytona, the one that they wreck right. I mean, the closest head-to-head race we had this year was the yellow, or the car getting to the line to take the white flag in this event. So this is how I build, and I'm just doing this to explain to people how I build, why I do it, why I use this process. Okay, and the reason why I do this is because when we look at the Super Speedway races every year, we get 4 of them. As I said, I do not count Atlanta in this thing. So we got 4 weekends a year. Okay, in my opinion, that can work here. Okay. When we break it down in terms of races, we typically see truck series are just more volatile. These guys are fucking stupid. They suck. They're going to end up wrecking cars. Okay. So that is usually a coin flip, 50-50 if it's going to be, an actual wreck fest. Like we don't need NASCAR incompetence to show up. Are the truckers going to be dumb and wreck each other, or are they going to be so slow and there's not going to be a lot of competitive cars in there that they just don't do anything. Okay, so trucks is a 50-50. Typically Xfinity Series, when we see most races, clearly, I want to get all this stuff out of the way before I really start analyzing stuff. I would argue that every race is 50-50, okay? Every weekend is 50-50 if we're going to have a gigantic wreck fest or if these guys are going to stay green. When we look at where these weekends are in the calendar, Summer Daytona is the most volatile, not because of what happened earlier last month, but because statistically, when we look at those races, that is the most volatile, that is the most destructive weekend in NASCAR. Okay, the amount of cars destroyed, the amount of teams losing money, everything that happens, the worst, highest percentage of all races that weekend being a complete joke is the Summer Daytona. Second on that list is the opening weekend in Daytona 500. Okay. Third on that list is this Talladega weekend. Okay. The least likely to have wrecks and spins and huge wreck fest is the spring Talladega weekend. Why don't I change my approach? Okay, why don't I change it and lean it towards those types of weekends? I just personally don't like doing that. I think first off, I understand that I'm putting this money up there. I'm expecting to lose it, okay? I know that sounds stupid, but this is the one place where I'm like, yeah, I'll throw 400, 500 bucks on a race, and if they don't wreck, I'm going to lose it. I understand that. However, if they don't wreck, I could typically 2 to 3x my money. I've done that even with like lower entry stuff, back in the years when I would only play like, 80 bucks on a super speedway event. I would just still stack from the back and walk away with like 400, 500 bucks if the race got stupid. One specific one that I remember is 2 years ago when they had that big wreck that NASCAR just never threw to yellow for, when Hamlin, is on the apron. The field is getting stupid in 3 and 4 at Talladega in the fall. I think I had like $100 on that race, won like 700 on that one. Okay, so even when I wasn't building, just an ass load of lines trying to cover this stuff, I still approach it this way. I'll start clicking through them a bit more. I'm just doing this to show you kind of how I build. This was Daytona 2. And if you are familiar, we'll show the winnings real quick. I only did 11 lines for this race, and you can see that they are built aggressive. We are playing guys from the back. We are playing just absolute bums. And the reason why we're doing this for 2 reasons. Okay, we're doing this because people aren't going to play, people are going to play Justin Haley. People are going to play Hill. People are going to play Vargas. People are not going to play Jesse Iwuji. People are not going to play Matt Mills. People are not going to play Joey Gase. People are not going to play J.G. Haley, Mason Massey, David Starr. When we look at where, and I don't have the ownership pulled up right now, but when we look at how people want to build lines, they want to play guys from the back, but they don't want to play the bad guys from the back. Okay, Justin Haley's starting dead last. He's going to be a great play. He's running up there all day, and you can see that I played Justin Haley. Okay, but who was I trying to get overweight on the field? And we weren't even that aggressive. We had 11 lines and had 4 with Jesse Iwuji. Okay, but I really like Joey Gase. I didn't think anybody was going to play Joey Gase. I really like Matt Mills. I didn't think a lot of people would be on Matt Mills. Josh Williams. Timmy Hill. When we get right down to it, I think you should team stack. In Xfinity, I think team stacking works very well in the Xfinity series because you have the Gase Motorsports cars who are going to ride in the back. You have NBA Motorsports who's going to ride in the back. They can't afford to tear up cars. Typically, we have the BJ McLeod cars who run in the back, not necessarily together, but their prerogative, their approach to a race is very much, hey, let's try and not tear up the car, or let's try and gain as many positions as possible due to people wrecking out. And so when you see these lines, you'll see a lot of the times that it's not every time. I'm not saying like team stacking every single lineup, but J.J. Haley and Timmy Hill. I have so much Timmy Hill. I'm going to play J.J. Haley with him because typically they're going to be running side by side. When we see Matt Mills and Josh Williams together, certainly later in these lines, these guys will be running together and stuff. Just a quick word. Whenever people say, do you want a team stack? Well, yeah, if I'm stacking from the back in Xfinity, I think it makes sense to do that. Am I purposely doing that for Cup? No. If I land on a team on Cup, that's fine. If I don't, whatever the case is. This is Daytona 1. I don't think I entered as much in there. No, I do. I don't know why I feel like, I just don't enter a lot. I entered a lot. And sometimes whenever I watch the races, I do like X out what lines are alive and which ones aren't towards a race, like if Drew Dollar wrecks out, if Jeremy Clements wrecks out, whatever the case is. But you can kind of see that. For Xfinity, I do kind of, I think this one was a chalk. I don't exactly remember what caused me to be this aggressive on moving guys up to the front. But either way, you can see that a vast majority of my lines are built with guys 23rd on back. Okay. This is the 500 millionaire maker. We made money here. I don't think I did a ton of lines. I don't remember. I did 12. I was actually more proud of this than anything else. Just that first ever millionaire maker for NASCAR, and I profited just playing that contest. I was very happy there. Daytona 2. This was the the fall race, or this race a month ago. These are the exact lines that I ran. Okay. These are it. Ran 20 lines. You can see that they are very aggressive towards the back. I thought this was going to be an absolute stupid race. Even without NASCAR getting involved with their incompetence with the rain and stuff, I thought it was going to be a dumb event. I will say that I was not winning any money before the rain. Okay, so with 30 to go, we're not making any money. However, if they wreck, even without the rain, if it finishes in a green, we're down $1,000. If anybody wrecks in that field, I don't have anybody in that field at all. That is what I try and aim for. That is the exact premise, not the rain, but late in the race. People are forced to race hard. The field is like 2x2, 3x3, whatever the case is, and I don't own a single car in that field. That is what I try and aim for. Why am I aiming for that? Because if that field, because we typically see the wrecks come from the second and third position. These are guys wrecking in the top 5, taking out the pack. If those packs get taken out, I don't own anybody. Okay, my guys make it through. Either way, you can see that these are my lines. And yes, sometimes I'll play the final 6 guys. And I think this was I think Dylan made the optimal, and I do have Austin Dillon in. I think it's right here. Yeah, that's Dylan. I did have Dylan in the line, but you can see that how aggressive I am. That's just how it is. One, because I let me continue and go through the what is it? How the contest played out, and then I'll explain why I play these types of lines as well. So this was Xfinity. Actually, no, this was Cup. My bad. Where's Xfinity at? My boys. Yeah, here we go. So this was Xfinity. So at least in the summer or a month ago or whatever, you could see I did my 11 lines, just play guys from the back. Got extremely lucky. Finally had luck go my way. 0.4 away from taking down this contest. So still a little room for improvement, but certainly very happy with that. And then entering Sunday, this is what I had already budgeted around $500, $600 to this, so I just added $400 to this, and had a pretty good day. I'm actually looking forward to playing in the smaller contest this week, to be honest with you, and probably the secondary one that fills, because this is the second 15 that opened up. This was the main one. Got extremely lucky there. Very happy with that. In FanDuel, you can see that I played the same bums. I mean, nobody's playing these guys on FanDuel. That's just how it is. I always build lines with these guys. That's just how it is. So we finally had a weekend that it actually worked out. I do want to point something out here. So when we look specific, also these are all the contests that I entered for. Yeah, hey, look, man, little CS:GO, unlucky there. When we look at the when we look at the Cup Series, and this is why I argue that cash is fucking stupid. Don't play cash these weekends. Don't play it. It makes no sense to play cash, okay? Let's go through and find our cash, because I wanted to enter cash this week to see how the lineups did. Okay, I could afford to spend $100 to invest here. I think I entered 3 double ups or whatever. Yeah, so this is another double up, and maybe I just did 2. Okay, yeah, we're basically at F1 at this point. So when we look at how these lines did in a GPP, okay, GPP versus to how the field is building in double ups, it makes absolute no sense. It's like people's logic is flipped. Like, oh well, yeah, in double ups you want to play guys that are gonna be safe, that have high floors. Okay, but those are the exact same lines that you should be playing in the GPPs, but people want to get too aggressive, chasing guys up front, chasing guys in the teams, chasing guys. And I'm not saying look, every race is going to work out to where I think the optimal line was the last 6 guys are in this race or whatever the case it was. But seriously, look at these double ups and tell me that double ups and cash is way harder because everybody just jams in the guys from the back. They understand that those are the safest plays. They understand that those are the guys with the highest amount of ceiling. They understand that those guys are dependent on wrecks and stuff. And you don't want to take risks taking guys up front who, why are we going to chase lap leaders? Why are we going to chase guys in the teams? The people who play cash have the right mentality. And I see this every time we go to super speedways and stuff. So don't play cash and build with the mindset of playing guys in the back. Let me X out all these. Playing guys from the back, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and kind of talk through. First and foremost, second off, if you want advertising time. If you want to support me, support Pearce, support the work that we do, you can join the Patreon. You will be given access to this folder right here. And we have, I mean, even more stuff up here that you can go through the sheets if you want to look at pit data, if you want to look at lab by lab data, whatever the case is. I'm not going to change. Patreon did roll out an update to where we can put it to where whenever you sign up, like if you sign up on the 20th, your billing is then on the 20th and stuff. We're not doing that because for us and for me, for Pearce and I, it's easier for us to have it to where you pay on the 1st, and it's easier for us to add people, remove people, understand who signed up when. It's just easier for us. So I'm personally not changing the billing structure on Patreon. It works very well for us. It's very easy for us to keep track of stuff. But let's go ahead and look at Talladega, and let's look at the top 6 here. Okay, so this is every race going back to like 2016. We'll see some races that have 43 cars in it. We'll see some races that have 40 cars in it. But whatever the case is, I just want us to kind of look through these real fast and understand that how often are we actually chasing guys up front? Okay, going on, and I'll focus primarily on Talladega races because we can see the Daytona stuff as well. But Talladega, okay, one guy in the top 10. All right, that's fine. Okay, I can afford to not chase that. This is a race that went green, and it's a spring race. It's understandable. It's going to be that way. Fall races, 2 guys in the top 10, but if you're chasing guys in the MAC, you're going to be fine. Okay, spring here, 1 guy in the top 10, 1 in the top 20. We're fine there. 2016 fall race, no. I mean, I don't mean to like walk you guys through this. Like I know you can read. I'm not trying to talk to you like you're stupid or anything. But I'm just trying to cover all the bases and stuff that I just don't see people. I don't see people talking about this in videos. It's always like, well, you need a 2-1 or not 2-1. You need a 2-4. Optimally speaking, you got to play the guy starting 7% of the time. And like, look, I just don't do that. Okay, when we look at a grid position. From what are we going to have this week? 37 cars with the 62. Could be wrong. When we look at 37, we don't have the qualifying in yet. We'll have 37 cars. Like I'm looking specifically. I'm not playing guys up front, and I know it's lined up by Sal. Actually, hold on. I'll just open up a template before. The one that I use before each and every race. So like when we're lined up on the grid, okay, when we're looking at like 37th on up, I'm not worried about lap leaders. I don't give a flying fuck about lap leaders. I'm personally not playing guys in the top 10 because their likelihood of being optimal is very slim. But Brandon, when you look at the top 6, you'll see that the top 6, the pole position, and I think this does include, he is including Atlanta in these, which, wow, that's where your starting position of 1 came from. And like, as I said, just be aware of this. Like when you're looking at the sheet and stuff, I like looking at this stuff specifically. As I said, personally, I would take Atlanta out. Just be aware of where some of these data is being pulled from. So at Super Speedways, Daytona, Talladega, the first has never been optimal. Second's been optimal a few. Let me just make sure. Oh, Atlanta. Okay, so one of these first places and one of these second positions are both from Atlanta of this year. So never and once. Okay, at this point, we're going to be very absolute here instead of checking Atlanta, just going through the positions here. I'm not playing 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. I understand 9th has been optimal like 3 times over these amount of races. Okay, I don't want to chase that. I don't want to chase 10th. I don't want to chase 11th. When people want to start kind of chasing for optimal, and I think the mistake that these people are making here, because when you're the Cup Series versus the and I don't mean to like do I'm proud of this and I've earned it. Like I've used this process for a long time and actually end up with a big day. But like specifically when we're looking at how lineups are being built and constructed, I think too many people are going all over the place. Too many people are trying to get cute and be aggressive. I understand that it was a gigantic wreck fest, but I look at this stuff each and every super speedway to see how people build. Check how actually, let's bring up ownership. We'll keep talking here. What a great guy Kyle Rounders is. Kyle whatever his name is, on Twitter. I like people who do my job for me, which is why I think you should support me, support Pearce. Like, we save you a ton of time in terms of building a sheet, in terms of doing stuff. But Kyle, oh boy, where are we at? Rounders Kyle on Twitter. Thank God, this man does the Lord's work and post ownership on Twitter for me, so I don't have to even bother posting. Also, I want to add that I've been following Kyle since he was very low. He has 1,100 followers. I was there way before you guys were. Prize pick stuff, I don't really care about. No offense, Kyle. I just don't care about prize picks. I just want to look specifically at the Talladega. Let's go ahead and do that real fast. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this here. So, and I'm using, because people have always done that. They'll be like, well, you're just doing this because you won last week. Well, it's the easiest for me to show examples, especially when I can actually, like, show why I chose to do things and didn't do things, or whatever the case is, and not in a situation of I'm right, you're wrong, but in a sense of trying to educate at least my process and stuff. So these are the ownerships for the Daytona race in last month and stuff. So let's understand where the population goes, and let's try and understand of where I think they might go, because we do see that, honestly, fantasy DFS, I'm learning. I really am. We are in an echo chamber. We really are in our own DFS bubble. What the public does and what the public perceptions does, they don't look at this as like investing and stuff. I mean, sure, some people do, but a lot of people play emotionally. Same thing with like football, okay? People will fade players. They won't fade players based on what they did to them personally last week. You can't do that when you're playing DFS. You have to have a short memory, or you need to have a memory of what happened, but you can't let it affect you. Okay, so when we look at this race, and let me move this over so I'm not having to click through 7,000 things. I just X'd out of it. I'm going to kill myself. All right, so when we look at the second Daytona race with where the public went, and we need to understand this specifically to build lines. That's why we have to wait for qualifying. Like, this all based on qualifying, and it's all based on what the public is going to do. I also want to add that, have you guys not seen races like I said? We have the rankings of the 4 Daytona or the 4 Super Speedway weekends in terms of people that are in terms of crashes and no crashes, okay? We also need to look at a situation of, like this week, for example, 3 races at Talladega this weekend, okay? We only need one of those races to basically just wreck the field for us to be profitable on the weekend as a whole, okay? So when we look at that, we take it as like, okay, one race, that's 33%. When we isolate that race, it has a 50% chance of either being a wreck fest or not a wreck fest, okay? So what is that in general? Worst case scenario, and this is using clown math, okay? But when you look at those 33% odds at each race, then you half of that, you got around a 15% chance at, like, worst case scenario of one of these races ending up being a wreck fest, like on the low end. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that type of like coin flip, okay? When we get to that's why I say I look at these weekends as a whole. It's not like one specific race. 3 races this weekend, each race has about a 50% chance of turning into a wreck fest. That's kind of how I look at it. So, like, worst case scenario this weekend, we got like a 15% chance of like just one of these races paying out and the other 2 staying green, or whatever the case is. I also want to add that, yes, these are ownerships for the Cup, but you can look at this for truck, Xfinity, whatever the case is. When we look at how likely it is that people are going to wreck, okay? And I'm not looking at DNF factors. I am looking at people involved in incidents. When we look at, and they'll post this on the broadcast and stuff, it'll be like, cars not involved in incident this night, and it's like 4 cars, okay? So any type of contact in this race, specifically in the Gen 6, is going to ruin your day, okay? And we'll rant about the stuff that I haven't been able to rant about in a bit, but when we look at the Gen 6, any type of contact in these cars are very dangerous to the car surviving the rest of the race, okay, or being able to run competitively and things like that. Secondly, very funny that, yeah, we've added 10 minutes to the damaged vehicle policy, but we see less cars being able to go through that because teams are like, hey, you know, these are actually destroyed parts. Let's not like just throw it out there and put our driver in more danger like we were forced to with a gun behind our head with like 6 minutes to decide on that earlier. I digress. So when we look at these ownerships and we look at the fact that in these races, we're having cars that are in the single digits not involved in incidents, and even less so, like escaping the races with no damage. I used to, in my head, like, okay, every car has about a 50% chance of wrecking out. I think that was way underestimating everything. Every car that enters a super speedway race, I'm going to push it up to 70%, if not 75%. There is a 75% chance that when you look at every car individually, that driver will be involved in a crash in a super speedway event. Okay? Maybe that's too aggressive. I think 50% is being too soft. I think it's more. Maybe 75 is a bit higher. If you want to argue 60, 65%, whatever the case is, every car in this race has an over 50% chance to be involved in a wreck because you could just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. You get piled in from behind. You get spun. You hit debris. Whatever the case is. Okay? So, when we look at ownership, if Bubba Wallace has we'll call it 60 for this, okay? He has a 60% chance to be involved in a wreck, 40% chance to not be involved in a wreck. Why on God's green earth is he 50% owned? People are migrating to Bubba Wallace. Where did that man start? He started 30th, okay? Because people want to play guys. You guys got to stack from the back. You got to play guys from the back. Bubba Wallace was starting 30th, okay? Yes, I played him in 2 lines, okay? Because I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to play these lines, what types of lineups does it make sense to play Bubba in? Okay? Why? Actually, I have Bubba in 2. What types of lineups make sense in that? Okay, so if we're playing Bubba Wallace, if we're playing the good cars in the back, because I would argue black out these, just like, actually, well, for this example, then we need to understand what people are doing. But in a situation where Bubba Wallace finishes this race in the top 10, what's happening? Well, it's a situation, yes, he can work in a wreckfest, but in the grand scheme of things, in a situation that is likely for Bubba Wallace to finish up front, we're also going to have other good cars in the back finish up front. Why did I build a lineup that had Bubba Wallace, specifically with Harrison Burton, Eric Almirola, Chase Briscoe, David Reagan, and Todd Gilliland, when I did not play it with Castle, BJ, and Noah Gragson? Because a situation that Bubba Wallace is going to perform well, it is also likely that other good cars in the back are also going to perform well. Okay? Same thing here. Why did I do this one with Ty Dillon, with Hemrick, with LaJoy, Cody Ware, and Landon Castle? Yes, I'm kind of dipping into the back markers in the back or the punt plays, but I'm not going full in on it because, as I said, in a race where Bubba Wallace finishes up front or wins the race or, just finishes in the top 12, that means the race didn't get entirely stupid. Bubba Wallace should finish up there. If this race plays out and nobody wrecks out, yeah, Bubba Wallace should finish in the top 10. Okay? So if we're building lines that lead to being on the good plays, I think you should lean on building lineups that go to people who are also going to be there. Secondly, my second point is he's 55% owned. Fuck that. The man has a 60% chance of being in a wreck. If the field's going to be on him, I'm not going to be on him. That was my fade. That was the reason why I built lines specifically with him in mind in a situation where he's going to perform well, that other people should also perform well. And that, like, I don't hear people talking about this. Okay, nobody else talks about this. I'm like a crackhead for plate races. I live for this stuff. Daytona and Talladega are my favorite tracks ever since I was a child. I go back and watch like races from the 90s for fun in the background at like super speedways just because I love these tracks. I love everything that goes into it. Okay, let's continue to go through. Ryan Blaney, Hamlin, Almirola. Okay, Blaney, Hamlin, Almirola. Where was Blaney at? Blaney was, okay, so here, top 16. I have no fucking clue what the fuck people are looking at, man. I assume that we are looking specifically at, and this is why I like this page I'm showing you here, because I kind of like you to show up or whatnot. When we look at Ryan Blaney And yes, this is Dega, but it works for Daytona as well. Let's move these over and see where these guys are finishing. Well, when we see this type of stuff, and we see a lot of green here, a lot of people feel pretty confident in Ryan Blaney. Outside of his wrecks, if he doesn't wreck out, he's pretty much guaranteed a top 15. I don't understand why people wanted to chase him that much starting 16th. Don't really get it. Not only am I not even in that range, I don't really understand why he was the second highest owned driver in the main one at 33% owned. Yet again, if every driver has a 60% chance of wrecking out and the field's going to be on this guy, why would I even play him? You know, his ownership, 33%, is pretty close to the percentage that he has of not being involved in a wreck. Okay, like that is insane. Denny Hamlin, one of the greatest plate racers of all times, to be honest, 100%. Not even joking with you. Started, where are you at, Mr. Hamlin? He started 19th. This one I understand. This fits into a category of where, okay, we're doing like a 4-2 strategy. Gonna pick 4 guys from the back. Who's a good guy up here? Oh, Hamlin. Look, let's compare everybody around him. You know, Custer, Cindric, I got lucky winning the 500. Cole Custer sucks. Blaney's good. Okay, Byron's a bit sketchy. I'm not playing Haley. I'll play Hamlin. I can't play Wreckhouse. Can't play Dillon. Kyle Busch. He DNF slot. Can't play him. Like, this is legit what people do. Okay, now I understand why ownership centered around Blaney and it's centered around Hamlin, because people don't want to play the people around him. Okay, they don't want to play Jones. First off, you shouldn't play Jones. I'm explaining this with the baseline of I'm not playing guys up front. I don't think you should. Once that's understood, we can get into the secondary reasoning of why I think people and ownership goes to certain people. When we look specifically at the finishes between Jones, Chastain, and Truex, you're going to see, Truex poor guy can't finish races. Byron also can't finish races. When we look at Ross Chastain, the man is very hit and miss, okay? When we look at Cole Custer, the man is actually finishing pretty decently, but in terms of him starting where he was earlier in the spring race here, people don't want to play him. People will gravitate towards who has had good finishes, good percentages of either getting stupid laps led, finishing up front. Like, let's look specifically at Blaney, as I said. Okay, people will be like, yeah, if he's not involved in a wreck, Blaney's going to finish top 10. Okay, this is like the surface level thinking that people use, okay? And they see the people around him. They see that, okay, I'm checking my list. I got to do the 4 guys in the back, the certain percentage of guys in the top 20, whatever the case is. And that is why they went to Ryan Blaney. Okay, Hamlin, same situation. Hamlin is a really, really good plate racer. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm straight. Hamlin knows what he's doing. Okay, I have faded Hamlin like the last 5 years just because ownership is always on him. That's just how I am. I play these races like just an ownership game. There's a reason he's the most expensive driver, because he is probably the best plate racer that we have in the field. Okay, now, what was his ownership at? 33. Yet again, these guys are very similar to where the percentage of them not being involved in a wreck is. When we look at Eric Almirola, now we're back in the back of the field again. Okay, so we're going to Bubba. People are seeing Eric Almirola, which yet again we touched about. Why was I so low on Eric Almirola? Because the field was gonna want to play him. Okay, so really, in the grand scheme of things, I did a full fade on Wallace and Eric Almirola. I played them I played Eric Almirola in the same line that I did Bubba, because look, in order for Eric to get through and for him to, finish up front, this is going to be a pretty tame-ish race. We understand that he has been optimal a lot of times, okay, at these plate races. Where are you at, Eric? This weekend, where are you at? So when we look at how Eric Almirola is running, specifically at Talladega, which is going to be a fucking red flag, like, don't play Eric Almirola this weekend. Ownership's going to focus on the fucker like nothing. Okay, we see that he's been optimal a lot of times. He went on an ungodly streak of top 10 finishes, and really top 5 finishes. It's pretty impressive. Or Stewart Haas, okay? But when people are building lines, and they're not looking at this sheet, okay? I understand that, like, other people run, like, basic sheets, like, no, it'll be like top 5, it'll be a top 5 column, and then the number they've been in top 5, then top 10, and blah, blah, blah. And then it'll show, like, how many times they've been optimal. And I think that's dangerous. I think that's a really, really dumb, stat to have. I would much rather I want to see the results. I can calculate how many times he's been fucking top 10 in my head, or get an idea. I want to see how these guys are specifically, finishing here, okay? Sorry, I'm trying to be aware that I have my camera right here. So why did the ownership follow Wallace, Hamlin, Almirola, and Eric? Because these were the guys that were the good plays, either in the mid-teens, in the center of the field, or in the back. Why am I going over this stuff? Why am I taking so much time analyzing this stuff? Is because this is what I do each and every plate race. Thank the Lord above that we have qualified today, or we'll set the grid today, so I can do this all night for Xfinity and Xfinity, or for Truck and Xfinity tomorrow, and then have all day Saturday to build and have an idea of where people are going to go for Sunday. Okay. I mean, we got F1 too, but I'll do that at some point. That's not really. I'll play F1 this week, but the priority this weekend is understanding where ownership is going to play out in this race here. Why was the second guy? We have Kyle Busch, Keselowski. We'll talk about these guys in a second. So Kyle Busch, which was very shocking that Kyle Busch came in as the fifth highest owned driver because he has had really, really bad history. Let's go ahead and look at where they are at. So kind of a situation to where, yes, Kyle Busch has had a lot of bad history, but when we look at these guys, I don't want to play Stint. I don't want to play Wreckhouse. Don't want to play Austin Dillon. Don't want to play Ty Gibbs, who in the, between 25th and 20th is a good driver. Yeah, it's Kyle Busch. Oh, yeah, it's Keselowski. Okay, so now once we understand where the field is going to go in terms of these guys, then we start seeing them kind of tiptoeing more into the guys in the back, but the good guys, the good cars, despite the fact that it doesn't really fucking matter. Okay, we have Reagan, who has been an absolute fantastic plate racer, who understands what he's doing. I don't even think Reagan is in this race this week. So that's good. We don't have to worry about David Reagan. Yeah, David Reagan's not in this race, so that is good. But yes, I was very high on David Reagan, and this is because David Reagan understands how to finish races. He's going to race very smart. He's not going to put himself in a dumb position. Do you guys actually fucking watch these races? Like, not you guys, not the viewers, but like, if you people can identify, like, if the field can identify that Reagan is good, and the reason why Reagan is good, why is that like not being used for other people? I don't understand that, because we then go to Chase Briscoe, which is a good car in the back, and then we go to Corey LaJoie, who, yes, hey, shout out to LaJoie for being a fucking fuckhead, that fucking cocksucker. And I don't listen to like these people, like their stupid like people lie all the time, like people don't understand that, but like fuck LaJoie for like entering the whole week, entering the Daytona race was like, nah, I'm not going to race. No, I don't want to tear up equipment. No, I don't want to interfere with the playoff cut line. I don't want to interfere with these guys. And then the fucker's racing up there in third. Like, dude, fuck LaJoie. LaJoie's the only fucking guy I don't like in this fucking series. I hate LaJoie. Corey LaJoie, you fucking suck, dude. I don't want to see, like, I would love to see you above all else just retire. LaJoie's a lying piece of shit. I personally don't like LaJoie. He's been optimal a lot, okay? Because when we look back at why he's been optimal and why he's performed so well at these races, is because he starts almost dead last in every single race, okay? And so these races here, optimal. Actually, let's even go to top 6 and type in LaJoie, and we'll find a shitload of Corey. Let's go ahead and find, we're way over here. Actually, these are, here, this will be easier. These are all the optimals lined up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Been optimal 5 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Corey LaJoie, optimal 5 times. He's been optimal a lot. Okay, you don't just get there unless you're consistently performing and stuff. So that's why we saw ownership. Once we get past the good plays in the back, we get to Corey LaJoie, because everybody sees him being optimal a lot, and we see Gragson starting dead last. So we can, does this make sense? Like, if we cover this up and just say if we cover these up and just say good car, good driver, good history, ownership follows that to a T. It always has. It always will. Okay? It then just depends on what the race plays out as. Okay? So we're playing like 4 different games, really, on these plate races. We're playing the post-qualifying order. We're trying to chase the highest type of line that can happen. We're trying to chase what the race does, if the race is a wreck fest or if it's not a wreck fest. Okay? Third, we're trying to chase what the owner... Actually, I forgot. we've qualified. I just went blank. You get the point. We're chasing what the race does, if it's wreckfest or if it's not a wreckfest, what the field is doing in terms of ownership, what the field is doing in terms of where they're going and why they're going, trying to play the people that they're not on, understanding that the field has a 60% chance of wrecking out and stuff. So let's kind of start kind of flying through this. So Austin Dillon at 19% owned at this point. They've kind of cleared out the good guys between the 26 and 17. So now we're kind of on Dillon. Same thing with Byron. Chase Elliott, don't understand that ownership at all. People are playing like Chase Elliott. What the fuck are these people doing? Like, you want to talk about rake? Like, we don't have to worry about rake in NASCAR for these fucking races with 16% of lineups having Chastain or having Elliott. That's dead money. Chastain starting 12th. That's dead money. Gillen. So at this point, look at how drastically this legit means that a majority of the lines in these contests are built with these guys. Because we're in we're in double digits, but like we're 15 at this point, and we're actually getting to the good plays. That's ridiculous. Okay, so Gillen, good plate racer, starting with good plate racer. Like, he hasn't performed bad. He's in the 30s. He's in a good car. Like, this car, if it goes green, gonna have the speed to stay up there. Okay. Then we got Stenhouse. People are afraid to play him. He only came in at 14th. Where was Stenhouse when it started raining? Stenhouse is running like 6th, okay? Like, Stenhouse is he knows what he's doing. He's got such a stupid bad rap of wrecking the field. But when you look at the amount of wrecks that Stenhouse is in compared to what he causes, he typically makes it through a lot of stuff, okay? That's insane. So, yet again, at this point, if every car has a 60% chance of wrecking out, and a 40% chance of not being wrecked out, now we're at ownerships that make sense to be on, to be way over the field on. Martin Truex Jr., a guy who has had, as I said, an absolute terrible time at plate races. When we look at this guy, we see that he is just DNF'd in nearly every single race. But at 14% ownership, that's perfectly fine. I don't know if I played him. I don't think I even got that high. Oh, he was starting 13th. Oh my God, people are playing him starting 13th with that type of history. That is insane. Okay, so at this point, now we're at people that I think you should want to fucking play. Okay, and look at how these ownerships break down. Okay, Larson, that's okay. Let's talk about the people who are done. Like, wow, KYS, bro. If you're playing like Larson starting first on the poll, I mean, this. Are you kidding me? We have 8% of the lines dead, absolutely killed on arrival. That is absolutely bonkers. Let's bump it up to 9 or even 10. 10% of lines done. Okay, you play Larson at 8%. You're playing Chase Elliott at 16. Those are the guys. Yeah, combined ownership between those two guys. Where are we at? 16 plus 8. Don't do math live. 24. A quarter of the lineups are dead on arrival. It is insane. People don't talk about this enough. You're not going to be optimal playing the guy starting first. You're not going to be optimal playing the guy starting second. And this is even with the big name boys starting first and second. If heaven forbid we have like Elliott starting 15th this weekend, ownership's going to be through the roof. Okay, so it's all about ownership. When we get to this point, yes, I understand. These guys actually, Custer, this was insane. Like, look at where these guys are compared to what I have. I'm not only am I like double digit, I'm like 60, 70, 80% on these guys. Okay, I do this every time. What do I think the ownership is going to do? I think we will see an increase in these punts, and not even because of this, but because of like that big parlay. So I also want to add that we did a Patreon member play that exact same parlay, the $1 million parlay, but he played it for I think $1 or something and won nearly 80 grand off of that. Okay, but everybody is going to remember that, hey, somebody won $1 million off of playing like BJ McLeod, Cody Ware, David Reagan, like all these people. So I do believe we're going to see a slight bump. So, and even if the case is like, who gives a fuck? It's not going to be a bump significant because people don't want it. People do not. That's why I'm saying I am clinically insane. You're telling me I put $1,000 down on these baboons back here on these? Yeah, and that's just how I am. I have a stupid high risk tolerance, and specifically when we get to here, yes, if we see an increase in ownership, we might see it, okay? But in terms of how aggressive I am on these guys in the back, the bums in the back, like specifically when we're looking this weekend, Cody Ware, I like it. Todd Gilliland, I like it. BJ, I love it. JJ Yaley, I love it. Okay, yes, we have Gregson. Yes, we're probably gonna have Justin Allgaier get added to the pool. I mean, it's Friday. I assume that they're gonna add him. Um, the fact that we don't have as many like bad punt plays anymore, I think it actually limits it more. Like I don't think we'll see just a gigantic bump because everybody's like, oh yeah, sure, BJ and Ware were optimal and they scored a lot of points there, but I don't want to put money on them. Like I think it really is people do not want to put money on these drivers. Like I'm okay with like I don't even feel anything. But if you showed somebody this that you're gonna put $1,000 on these guys, people would call me insane. Okay, so personally for me, I think we might see a slight bump. Maybe like we see BJ go from like 3 to like 6 or something, but we're not going to see 10% BJ. We're not going to see 10% Cody Ware. Okay, maybe the smart players do, like the real like if you're and like bro, let's go through. Let's take a look at the real contest real fast, okay? Um I already have my lines entered and stuff. But let's really do just like look through and go like it's 11,000. Okay, I don't think that's gonna be insane. Um, I mean the payouts don't. I mean even when we look this way, like we're just kind of going through real fast, and I understand that this is very early in the week, but like look at the amount of lines people are throwing in. Okay, a lot of like 2s and 3s. Um, and I understand this is very much like a real elementary way to like look at it. But just to give you like a visualization of why I don't believe that we're gonna have just a gigantic increase is because this is how a lot of people play. It's first off, it's expensive. Okay, to be honest, like look, that 15, that's a lot, man. I mean, I'm doing 20. I'm doing 20 in this. My budget for the weekend is like 1,400. But right now I'm doing 20 here. Like I said, I want the second 15 GPP to open up. But yeah, like look, everybody's doing like 1s, 2s. Very few people doing like 3s and stuff. I'm one of the few guys like doing 20. Like I don't think we're gonna see the increase that we think we will, or that I don't think we'll see the increase in ownership that we're expecting, or that we would think that we would see. Like you know like the 4, I mean these are very very small contests and stuff. Maybe the 1, I mean even like we're not going to see that gigantic bump and stuff. Even more so for Xfinity's 5,000 people. Okay, there's no way everybody's playing like the guys starting dead last. Like nobody's actually doing that, specifically with NFL being here. Like I don't think we see the gigantic increase that we're kind of worried about. This is incredibly small. It's a darn shame that 4 pays out so fucking terrible. Like, oh man, I'm debating on if I want to enter this one. But yeah, like I don't think we see the gigantic increase from this type of ownership to the back markers that we might expect. Yeah, sure, some people might, but I don't think we're gonna have the amount of lines to do that. Or I don't think a lot of people are gonna have the volume of lines to really make a gigantic increase and stuff. And specifically, certainly for FanDuel, I don't have the ownerships pulled up, but like this cumulative ownership is less than 10%. Maybe Gregson got higher. I don't remember, but nobody's building lines like this on FanDuel. Okay, I think I tied with somebody. I'm pretty sure I did in this one, but like, dude. I'm not incredibly worried about ownership taking a gigantic bump on the back markers. That's just kind of where I'm at. I'm not. Yeah, I'm just personally not worried about it. So, Yeah, I've been wanting to talk about this so much. I think I'm going to save the rants for live shows because what else we're going to talk about in the live shows this weekend. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for supporting me, supporting Pearce, and listening. I know this was a late video. I know it's Jesus Christ, it's almost an hour. But thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you guys on the live shows tomorrow and Sundays. Thank you for being here.